As an extension to part 1 gradient and decals, I would like to show you how we can use the gradient color fill with a stroke to create, for example, a nice color gradient along a line, or we can use the shape of the brush and then the gradient as a substitute to a radial fill. In video 1 I showed how you can use the linear fill and then actually the brush together with the graph to create kind of like a black and white mask of a circular shape, which then we could colorize afterwards. But we couldn't really add additional colors easily to it in like a precise circular manner. So to use the gradient, we have to go to the color part. The first option, dirty mode, you can ignore. This is actually for oil painting. The second mode already is important. So use stroke gradient. See, I can draw something and it actually picks up the last color. See, but it's not really a gradient. And then here, when we turn on pen pressure, let's see what happens. So if I press, you see it actually blends between these two colors. Quite nice. So based on how I draw with the pressure, I can adjust the transition. Okay. Let's turn this off. Then we have circular. Let's go to here and click. And you see this actually creates a circular blend based on that gradient. If I select a different gradient, now you see it. If you go linear, it's a linear shape. So if I, with the linear one, go vertical or horizontal, you can see how this blend is applied. The radial one is actually quite interesting because if I draw now a line, it starts to look more like a pipe. As you can see, it gets like a three-dimensional quality because there is a little bit of edge shading. So you probably guessed it already. The radial function is really the one we can use for creating circular blends. So for linear blends, we can use the linear fill tool. And then for radial blends, we can use simply the brush and then turn on gradient and radial. To customize the gradients, let's say we go maybe to, we can work with this one. We can move these points around left and right. If we click somewhere in between, we can add a new point. And if we drag down after clicking a point, we can remove the points as well. So very easy. So we can make, when we click one of these triangles, we can make it transparent. So now, for example, to the outside, this will get transparent. There. Okay. If I want a little bit more opacity here, maybe set this to 100. So now the center is more filled. Okay. So let's maybe go to this one. Here I have a gray value. And in case I would like to create a nice circular blend, then I could make this really big, 800. And let's maybe turn this one off and there. Okay. And then I have to find the correct position. So in my case, maybe maybe there I can click. This obviously is very strong, so I can then work with the transparency. So I lower this a little bit, and then I would have to clean up the rest. So the outside is gone. And then this way I could add kind of like a small radial blend to it. This is a very big drawing, and the problem is that unfortunately this brush maxes out at a size of 800. So you see for my front part, I can't really easily just make one big radial blend over it. But with the airbrush, we can easily also shape this quite nicely. So it's not that much of a problem. And if I airbrush something over a non-perfect circular shape, I can use then the airbrush, and if it's a perfect circular shape, then I can use the radial brush. And honestly, in all my time, most times I use the linear gradient. I hardly ever really used the circular gradient. Okay, so what could be the application for the linear gradient? Actually, I can't come up with one, but instead of that one, we can use, for example, the pen pressure, and then we can maybe use kind of like a two color gradient there. So gray and white. Number one is gray, so maybe this one I make a little bit darker. Okay, good. Let's zoom in, and this is actually a nice application and example for the linear gradient when we adjust the pen pressure of it. So you see here in the center there I have a highlight, so this my black contour line, that area maybe should be black. So let me see. So hardly pressure, and then apply pressure, it gets white. Okay, good. So this might actually require a little bit of practice. I will, let's stabilizer is turned on. Try to get close, and now I press and release pressure there, and then this way you could draw then kind of like a highlight line, which is not just black or white, but actually has a gradient included. But you can see that it's requires really accurate pressure movements with your hand. Okay, so that's one way how we could do it. The other way would be we simply work with the post correction. So post correction, as a reminder again, you draw something and then it refines it for you. And now we apply the post correction to the blend. So let's see what this does. So I draw a line, and then you see along the whole length of the line it adds the blend. But I want now gray to white to gray, and my gradient right now is only gray to white, and then that's it. So I need another point in between. So this one, let's say, is the second color, and then here this one should be the main color. Okay, let's center this one. Okay, let's draw something. There you see the gradient is now applied to the center. So then either freehand or by using the ellipse template. Maybe for this demo, let's try to see how this works with the ellipse template. Let's move this in, scale this down. There, we're close. Okay, and then maybe somewhere here, I want to turn on snap to the guide as well. And this is actually not the correct gradient. Interesting. Why did this one? Hold on. Huh, interesting. Looks like with the ellipse, it didn't really It gets a little bit grayish at the end, but not really fully grayish. So let me try one thing out. Yeah, okay, no, it does it, but it seems that the position on the ellipse is important. Yeah, okay, so good. Then let's go back to, well, we use the stabilizer anyway, zoom in nicely, and then we do our line. I hit actually the covering of my iPad, so my line shaked a little bit. But there, you can see it. Also quite easy. And then again, we can work with transparency to adjust those parts later if we want. Also, the size is maybe a tick too big. So let's make this a little bit smaller. Yeah. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, and yeah, that's basically it about how we can use the gradient tool then to colorize and stretch a gradient along a curve to create like highlights along a line. And if we just only use the use gradient then and the use radial, and then we also can create radial gradients.